What's up, everybody? Welcome to CFP Talks. David's throwing up gang signs, so you know it's Friday. Uh, I hope you're strong and you are studying very, very hard. Dude, I'm ready for this week to be over, man. I'm ready.
I was gonna say I was saying only seen if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on Spotify, you didn't see it.
Yeah, I'm ready for the week to be over. But anyway, I hope you guys are studying hard. And what I want to talk about today, and we just talked about this in another episode we just recorded, was some of the misconceptions we have when starting to study for CFP. In our last episode, we talked about how most of us kind of come in with the FINRA attitude of, I'm just going to grind through the Q bank and learn from there, and then I'm going to go take the test. And as most of us have learned, and if you've ever taken the exam and failed, and that was your mindset around it, you'll notice that that doesn't work for this magnitude of an exam. It's too big, it's too dense, the material's too much. So, and a lot of people refer to the CFP as being a mile wide and an inch deep. A lot of stuff on it. You don't have to know everything on every topic. I'm gonna kind of modify that. I'd say the CFP is a mile wide and about 6 inches deep because they are requiring everybody to know a little bit more about those topics. So we don't know where it's coming from. You don't know what they're going to test you on at any one of those topics. You got to be ready for any one of the 10 to 12 subtopics that's on the exam. We know that in certain exam cycles, they weight more, they weight less. Now, we talked about not using the Q bank as a method of learning. Let's talk about the flashcards, Stephen. What is, if you're going to sit there and you're going to tell somebody, hey, here's the best way to use your flashcards, or should you use flashcards in general? What is your kind of advice to somebody coming to you, as a CFP? Hey, David, they have Ken Zahn has flashcards, Kaplan has flashcards, Dalton has flashcards. Are flashcards something I should get? And if so, what should I do with them?
Yeah, 100%. Like absolutely. And I would get. I don't know if they're still available online, but are the Zons still available?
Yes.
Yeah, the Zon. We use Zon. I
Use the
believe.
Zahn. Yeah, I use the Zahn flashcards.
I like. Yeah, those are really good. There's a lot. Like I remember when you told us to get them, and I was like, like I don't feel like ordering them and like getting flashcards and like and then when you get the package, by the way, there's like 500 cards in there,
Oh yeah.
like a lot, and like each they're broken out by section, and there's like probably like almost I would say close to like 60 to 75 per section ish, and it's just like a huge thing.
Yeah.
So when I remember when I first got them, I was like overwhelmed, and I was like, Joe, really? Like we have to you want us to do this? Like what you know, but in the end, I would say they were not only useful, but they were pretty instrumental in my prep and in me passing. Not even close. They're
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm really glad to hear you say that because I want to dig into a little bit of the nuts and bolts. But for those of you watching on YouTube, this is the GPP section of the Zon flashcards. You can see it's
yeah.
about,
They're like it's like an inch thick almost,
yeah, about
right?
they could probably about 100 cards in here.
Yeah.
As you can see, I have yellow post-its on it, breaking it even into subtopics. And this is something that I recommend to everybody doing, kind of breaking into subtopics like, I have my site cards here. I think these are the professional conduct. I wrote like pro conduct there, and these are GPP rules. So I kind of even took the cards and started breaking them down myself. And that's what I recommend to most people. So the answer to the question of should you get flashcards? Yes. What do you
And
what should you
you
expect though, Dave, what should you expect from those flashcards?
well, What do you mean? What should you expect?
Like
Like,
a lot of people say, I love flashcards. They are my number one study tool. And so you kind of get this idea in your head of, oh, okay, I need to go and do flashcards. And then, like anybody who really doesn't know where to get started and what to do, maybe you take the flashcards and go, this is my study tool. This is it. This is the one that's going to get me over the hump. So can we expect the flashcards to get you there, or what is the role of the flashcard?
well, I mean, yes, it can, but not by itself. It's just like one of a few things of multiple things that you're gonna have to do. But it's pretty instrumental. Like I would probably compare it. Let's do another analogy. You're making, I'm trying to think of a food, like a food that has multiple ingredients in there, and like one thing that's like not that it's you don't like see it, or you don't necessarily even, okay, all right, let's use this. So you're making something on a pan, and I'm not like a big cook, so forgive me if I'm mistaken. So I make eggs, and you make eggs in the morning, you make an omelet with cheese and bacon and whatever else you're going to put inside the eggs. But if you're making it on the pan, you really can't make it without like olive oil or some sort of substance on the pan that's going to allow you to cook it in there,
Let,
right?
let's go with a cake.
Okay, let's go with the cake. Can you go with that?
Yeah. So you obviously have your ingredients of in a cake, right? And
Yeah,
I can't have the cake without my flour, my sugar, my eggs, my oil.
perfect. Yeah, exactly. Like the stuff that you don't see on the surface, but it's like you cannot make it without that.
Exactly.
That's how I would probably analogize what the cards are. And let me just go back to something that a minute or two ago when you're showing everybody that's watching with the sections that you broke out GPP into, right? Here's one of the things that I loved a lot about using the Zon cards was the Zon, and they're very helpful. There's a lot of information on there, but it doesn't have everything on there. And sometimes you may think of something, how you're going to learn it in a certain way that the cards don't have on there, or maybe they don't have something on there that you want to add on.
Hmm.
You can then write on there on the card something extra, or you can break it down into sections like Joe did. And that was so helpful. And if you get cards, I would definitely suggest doing that.
Yeah, I like that analogy. I'll give another one. If we think about CFP, the CFP exam is like building a house. Your flashcards will establish your foundation. That's what you can expect from your flashcards. You can look at it as it's just one ingredient in the cake. And it's an important ingredient, but it's not the only ingredient.
Mhm.
Or if we're building a house, it's the foundation to that house. But that's where the flashcards as a tool stop. It is the foundation, but it is not the house itself, right? I still got to go build the house on top of it. And that's where things like your Q bank come into play, your exercises, your worksheets, your drill,
Yeah,
your
everything else.
your true false, all the other tools that we use for education that help establish taking you from a fundamental concept that you've never even heard of before to now being able to apply it in different situations. There is a gradual steps to getting there. However, your flashcards establish a foundation, and here's where people get it wrong. I don't need flashcards because I can memorize on my own. That's not true. If you're not building any other exercise, it just doesn't happen by itself. And two, flashcards are the only thing that I need. That is also not true. Flashcards will establish you a foundation, but how you use those flashcards can either be in a very basic rudimentary, I'm just flipping cards, whatever's on the card, or you can do what David did. And that's what I typically recommend to people is it's your job to make the flashcards your own.
Yeah.
So put it in better language if the language is not speaking to you. Put notes on it, put little things on there that are reminders, and you can write on both sides of the card. So, like the first one is loss aversion. All right. And that's something that I would go in and write. What is loss aversion? How does it affect investors? Why is this important? And I would write
Mhm.
questions on the front of the card, because if I just see loss aversion and I flip the card and says clients are generally losing much more concerned with avoiding losses than pursuing potential gains. Well, I don't like that language. Personally, this has actually worked out great, because I wouldn't do that. I would say on the back of the card, I put what, right? Loss aversion. Clients don't want to lose money. Why is this important? Because they'll make decisions based on losses instead of there's something wrong with the stock, there's bad information, it's fundamentally broken. Something to that extent would be what I put on a card. So
Yeah.
the tool it's a very versatile tool, but it's just a tool. It's one of the tools in your toolbox. It can only do so much.
And let me just point out a few more things before we go ahead and wrap this up. Another thing with them is you can bring them anywhere. So like I remember I used to be commuting to work, and like I'm not gonna read my textbook or take a quiz on the train or where, if I'm in the car. But if I'm in the car and I'm not driving, or I'm on the train, I'm obviously not driving. I'm just flipping through cards for like 20 minutes. It's like a quick, easy repetition. Like, all right, I have 20 minutes. I want to get a little studying in. Let me just look at like 10 or 15 cards and go through them.
Hmm.
And then the other things for just like logistically, how to use them. One thing that we used to do is you go topic by topic. So you like start out with GPP and really, really nail those down. Then you move on to investments, but you accumulate them on top of each other. So like when you master GPP and then you move on to investments, while you're doing investments, you're also doing GPP as well. So you're not just completely forgetting about that.
Yeah,
And then by the time you're done, you're just aggregating it and you've learned 7, 8 modules right there. And I used to take, because the Zon cards, if you get the Zon cards and you just saw with Joe, there's rings on them. And you open up the rings, you take the cards out while you're doing a specific module, and then you create piles. And this is straight from Joe. He's the one that introduced this to my group and ultimately me. But your left pile is your ones that you master them, like for a fact everything on there. The middle is ones that but like you may get it wrong the next time. You don't have it nailed down. And then the right is ones that you just straight up have absolutely no idea. And your goal is obviously to get them all into the left column,
yeah,
to the ones that everything you know. But it's just a nice little strategic way to use them.
yeah. The three pile system is a great system, and it works for if you use it, it works great, because the goal is to just move everything left. And I
Mhm.
like it because it's a nice little game. But let's stop right there. Thank you everybody for listening. If you found the video and our episode helpful, please hit the like and subscribe button, or you can always reach out to David or myself with any questions or concerns, and we'll see you guys very soon.